And thanks for that interesting session, John. And I'll start with a little bit of apologies because you've been playing around with the thoughts of active learning engagement in the classroom now. I'm now going to shift you towards something serious, little serious topic about AI engagement and the risks around it. So little apologies for that. But anyways, I make sure that we get to share our thoughts together and see how we can make AI engagement more active for our active learning students. So yeah, let's get into the topic. I will be shifting screens in though. So I hope it shouldn't be a problem going forward, but let's see. So welcome to the session once again. So the topic for my discussion is steering risks of AI-induced learning engines. And I'm Rachel John Robinson, an academic based in Germany. So where did it all start, this particular topic? It was a kind of a brusher up where I started to think about how, with this latest technologies coming into play, I really wanted to see how this really works into a day-to-day engagement in a classroom setting. Hence, thought of studying this with the students and also here with you today as faculties to understand the risks and opportunities which this particular technology throws on us as part of active learning engagement or environment that we call as today. So the result is this particular presentation where I would like to enlighten you with certain results that has been viewed up from the student perspective and of course study with you the faculty perspective and think alongside of what could be done for better engagement going forward. So the student voices here count around to 200 numbers. So your voices will now get added onto it and we are going to see and compare how this really gels or no mismatches or are we poles apart or are we all sailing on the same boat and think through the ways of aligning it. So just to give a little bit of stats before how this AI concept of study came into being. I recently got exposed to this survey of Student Experience 2023. So where I was intrigued by the answers of the students. So on the left-hand side, if you see what students experience compared to their expectations in the last decade. So it's presumably we can kind of really get the crux of impact of pandemic during those 3 years where you see the experiences really drilling down to their expectations. Of course, institutions, faculty, and everyone engaged in active learning have been doing their best to make study experience more fruitful and eventful for students, but somewhere we were all learning in that stages. So I think AI is a kind of a birth child out of all those learnings and experiences that we had in those couple of years of pandemic remote working style. And of course, the extended version of the survey given various reasons why students felt that the experiences were drilling down during these times. The top 5 reasons are given to you on the right-hand side of this column, where you see that there are different reasons. But I really wanted to pick up on the second aspect, what really made them to feel that they were supported in independent study. So that I think this could be a reason why today we are using a lot of these technologies into our classroom engagements and trying to see that how these technologies could, I won't say it won't be a replacement to academics, but I would say that it's a kind of a support mechanism which not just teachers, students, but also institutions per se are also looking as a support mechanism and trying to induce these kinds of technologies into classrooms and the so-called eventual education systems. So this being the background of the particular intuitive study, it gave in a lot of automated learning environment to the scenarios where we fully came into the understanding it's through classrooms and digital learning spaces we are going to do this. And this also induced the AI learning concept, which boomed into the market just like that in a year's time. And the level of coverage is humongous and unimaginable. It's also widening boundaries and shrinking of the limits. Already in the internet age had really given that thrust of shrinking the boundaries and making people come together. But this even more generative technologies like this had made the boundaries even more into a room concept. So the world is inside us. So that kind of widening boundaries is also possible. And last but not the least, this in terms of not just AI getting induced into our active learning scenarios, but generative AI. Generative AI is even more into a deeper concept of generating knowledge through machine-read processes, where you are able to generate content, images, files, whatever you can think of, in just a click of it, based on the predefined knowledge set on the machines. So this, if I can think of in how it could impact into an active learning scenario or into academic scenario, mostly the course contents of every knowledge that you try to gain over the period of time could be inculcated or course fed into the missions, and this could be kind of support mechanism or extended support mechanism from a tutor's perspective for the students. So these could also be the reality that we are facing these days. So with this thought, I just want you to engage with me in this particular small opinion poll. You have two options. You can either log in with that code, or you can scan the screen. The results are going to be a little exciting for me to understand what we opine along with the students. So let me go ahead and share the screen of the opinion poll. I hope by now
put the Menti address in the chat, and also the code to join as well.
I'm sharing the Menti screen for you right away. So you can go to the Menti, it's given at the top there, menti.com, and this code is also given to you over there. So excited to see what we have to opine on this.
Just take us a moment to get in. I can see there are 10 people already, but I think there are others joining.
Yep. If you have any other comments apart from the options listed down in the survey, feel free to put it out in the chat as well. Oh, that's the results from the participants. Good to know. So I guess, so this being the first set of questions that I would like to ask you. Interesting to see that nearly 50% of the crowd who had answered says they have tried it, and the next 50 hasn't. Okay, so here we go with the next one. And you see the results there. But this is little eye-opening, because here in this particular question, I guess we are a little differing from the student base. Nice to know. Great. I think it's now time to see what the student voices have to say for the same set of questions. You can track the results inside your apps as well. It should be viewable for you right now. So here, when I talk about student responses to the same set of questions, we see that 25% of them tend to see that AI tools don't understand them properly. And and the same happens with the next 25% of students who says they have to frame, they don't know how to frame questions with the tool. So it's quite challenging for 50% of the crowd to use the tool per se. Whereas 42% try to say that they have tried it as part of their active learning engagements inside classrooms and otherwise as well. And 30% say they have challenges with engaging in AI. So various types of challenges. So these are being the scenarios. So I would like to hear, have you tried these kinds of tools with your students, and what has been your experience? And do you have any insights that you could shout it out to the general crowd here? Any thoughts on this, people? I don't see the hands. If anyone wants to go on, I don't see the hands though.
I think Mary has a hand up, and Julian.
Okay.
Mary, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'll be fairly quick. I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and I was inspired by something, a presentation last week where AI was used as a group member within a student team. So they treated the AI as a group member and challenged what it produced and all that. And I thought that was really good for developing critical thinking. So what I'm thinking about doing now is running a session for teaching staff about how to use it in their learning design, but critically. I think that's the important thing. And then they can take that on. If they take that on board, then they could, as appropriate, maybe use a similar kind of teaching technique with their students.
Perfectly agree. Yes, critical thinking could be modeled with the AI as well. We needn't to really push out AI, and in terms of our teaching, thinking it's going to replace our traditional models. Definitely no. It could be extended to our value generation. Yes, Julian. Thank you, Mary.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm always a big fan of the saying, you see a mousetrap, I see free cheese and a challenge. And I think when the big thing with the AI coming out, everyone kind of went down this negative route of, oh no, the end of the world is nigh, we're going to get taken over by the Terminator and all this. But actually, I found it exciting, because when we've been revalidating programs, when we've been doing assessments, I've been saying to staff, if you're setting tasks that could be completed by a computer, are we really setting people up for the world of work? Are we really setting them up for the future? And actually, it's an opportunity to go, don't just do a written report. Try and think of a new way that you can get validation, real answers from students. It's that whole thing of going, okay, well, let's try blogs, let's try vlogs, let's try presentate, let's try and do real stuff, as opposed to writing a 4,000-word assignment for every single module. And it's that whole thing of going, AI can support, but let's see what the students really do. And it's that whole thing of going, it's a challenge. AI has been around for years. It's been there in loads of different formats. It's nothing new, but now just unfortunately it's getting a little bit more
over the head kind of exercise. Yeah, it's also interesting to know that do we have some technology to kind of replace our our thinking pattern and stuff like that, but why don't we play around with it? I like that analogy of getting it to be more collaborative. Let that also be considered as a person inside a classroom engagement, and trying to see how this could be thinking along with us. Okay, we have certain thoughts for a solution, for a problem. What does the tool have to say for the same problem? And thinking together, could this be also a possibility of real-time implementation? Yeah. Yes, is there any other thoughts? Can I move forward? Okay, Helena?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, a colleague of mine, what she's doing, and which I'm going to copy, I think is a great idea, is that as part of her assignment briefs, she is putting in for students ideas about how you can use AI for the assignment, along with prompts, but she also adds a caution, so how it might not be useful, or how you might have to critically evaluate it. And I think that is a really great idea. It's kind of like you're setting out this assignment, and then you can really tell people, well, where could you use these tools? My imagination might not stretch as far as what students can do, but certainly giving ideas of what you can do and how you critique that. And I just think that might be the way that I'm going to go for the time being. just as sort of like, why don't we have a go and see how you can use it, what my experience can bring you in understanding these things, but then also, ultimately, it's not a no-go zone. It is a try it out, but do know that you are the individual here and it has limitations.
Very true. True. So it's no boundaries kind of limit. So it's just that you have to see out the possibilities where we can induce it and see whether we could live with it. If not, just politely oblige of removing it off and saying, okay, this could be the best practice of doing it. Or if this could be really induced into our knowledge level expansion, why not? Why not include it and go and try it out? Definitely. Thank you guys for the inputs. I go forward with the so-called noted risks. This is a little bit in terms of organizational concept of trying to see what risk could model out as part of this, any particular new initiative coming into practice. So as an organization, if we can think, okay, this is a new technology which is out there in practice right now, what could be the possible risk for us? So in such having that same connotation into academic setting, what could be the possible risks by inducing these kinds of technologies? One is unethical processing, the first one, like trying to process and destruct or create data which could be insecure through insecure systems, which also entails educational data, and as a consequence, individuals, it's ultimately the students who suffer a lot. It could be because of low performance. The identity fraud is also instant peak with these kinds of systems, and loss of trust, definitely. The second one is data minimalization. Here, the concept is about trying to give data which is not relevant to the scenarios and stuff like that, and trying to make up things around it, which would also be a detrimental scenario and could cause a consequence of unethical data processing. Might as well the results that we get in for the problems that we pose will not be really giving the real world scenario kind of solution, and which may not be really ascribable to the practical implementation. The third major risks could be fairness, where students suffering from discriminatory outcomes, relying too much on the predicted characteristics of these systems, and as a consequence, they suffer from incorrect decisions. Like they try to give a solution, they don't critically think, as we were discussing before. The students don't critically think for a particular scenario. They try to over rely on a system-generated content, and they try to base their decisions on that, which may not be factual enough, and they may not really fare well in that scenario. So these were the top risks, which when I can think of in terms of having a new generated systems inside classrooms. Your next opinion. Here again, I would like to see what do you think in terms of the new technology posing as risk for educational enterprises. So I would like to go about sharing the screen once again for the next one. You should be able to see the survey right now. So just given the new code, and you should be able to access the particular question.
Oh, it's a different code, is it?
Yes, different code. It's a different code. You see the code at the top.
Yeah, I'll type it in the chat for people as well.
Thank you. Go to the results now. Good to see the transformations happening. You can just key in what you have noticed with your students in classrooms. How do they take in this technology? Okay, the prominent ones, results are not credible enough, which we all as academics do agree as well, definitely. Security is also a second major concern for us as academics. Good to know. Okay, so this being the scenario, what do you think would be the future? Many of us agree it's just a beginning. Okay. The level of disruptiveness in education, I won't say it's mind-blowing, but at the same time, it's kind of manageable if we have the correct tools and techniques in place. I think it is. That's where we co-live with the technologies which comes out on the market at any time, I guess. Anyways, thanks. Now, let's see what the students had to say for this. So here I go. So 60% feel creativity is lost. That was the third biggest option for us, though. 40% feel security is at stake. Another 40% feel that results are not credible, whereas we as academics think results credibility is at top for us. And 50% of them feel it's disruptive technology. 70% feel it's just the beginning, and 40% think it can replace anything. So this being the voice of the students, I just now wanted to see what these risks have to talk in terms of the major areas of concerns that we should look out for inside our classrooms or inside our future academic engagements. First is student creativity, highly questionable because of the tools in stake that has been pushed out onto the market every day and every other day. Anything that comes in, it comes in with that update the next day. So that by which the creativity is highly questionable. Next is kind of security engagement, meaning unethical practices inside the academic realm, causing unnecessary strain. Here, when I meant unnecessary strain, it mostly means in terms of engaging them into areas which are not really result producing, and these results are not really legible enough for real world practice. So this kind of puts up a double work or a duplication of work that we have already been doing. So it's like checking and rechecking. It's a strain on the academics as well as on the students. Then originality, there's again a concept which is more thrust on, because more thrust is based on machine read assistance. curtailing the thinking capacity. Then more advancements are in stake. As we all see, it's just a beginning. Possibility of expansion is always imminent, and today's online exams could be tomorrow's automated exams. So these are the so-called possibilities that I could think of in such scenarios. And last but not the least, for everyone's it's a kind of a small food for thought that I can leave you all with is how this tech could replace anything. We see that 50% of the participants saying that this could replace anything. My request is to think and rethink this with your students. Maybe, who knows, they might have more revelations that would be insightful for us to know, go about in exchanging in these kinds of forums in the future. So what can I do as academic going forward? Be available to detect and correct the AI systems exhibiting biases. That's where our expertise can overrule these systems to a maximum extent. Next, ensuring you're processing data and details that are lawful.
Rachel, just to
yes.
let you know, we're out of time. So if we could just wrap up, because we have just a 10-minute break before the next one.
Sure. I have just another 1 minute. I'm done. So yeah, it's about processing details as per which is lawful, and to ensure that student rights are handled properly according to this tool, and not but the least, the data minimalization principle, where you are trying to put in or key in data which is relevant and necessary only, so that the machine is not overfed with details and trying to project unnecessary results at the end. So with this, I think we are foolproof enough to play around with these kinds of tools going forward, and making us more, I would say, tech ready for engaging in active learning. Thank you all for listening, and I'm now open for questions, if any.